Hey friends, it's Cassie. Welcome back for another Missing Stamps video. Today we are going to be playing with the Alice stamp set. I'm going to be working on a background. It ended up working out way better than I thought it would. We're going to combine two stencils. We've got our Wonky checker and we also have our rabbit hole stencil, and together I just think these work so well. I love combining stencils to see what you can come up with. So I've got some watercolor cardstock. This measures 4¼ by 5½ inches, and I'm just going to put this in my makeshift splatter box. I'm not tacking anything down. And I have a couple of distress spray stains. We've got Spun sugar and Festive berries. I went light-handed with the Festive berries, knowing full well that that Spun sugar would draw it out. So I'm going to heat set this until it is good and dry, and then we can move on to using our rabbit hole stencil. So for this, I am going to use some Pixie spray. It does need to be tacked on a little bit kind of in the center because the stencil itself is kind of free floating in the center, if that makes any sense. It's not entirely free floating, but if you blend too much, you'll see, because it does kind of happen here. So I've brought in some mustard seed distress oxide, and I'm blending, and you'll see I kind of move it even with the Pixie spray. But I'm just trying to now be more conscious of how I'm blending and where I'm blending on there, working with the stencil, like kind of going in the direction of the stencil. So I'll pull that away. And so far, I think that looks pretty cool, but I'm going to make it look even better by bringing in some Uncharted Mariner, and I'm just going to blend this on the edges. I wanted to frame this up and then kind of make those colors pop a little more on there, and for some reason this Uncharted Mariner really does that. Not only does it show that blue, but it also, when it's blending over the top of the mustard seed, makes this really pretty green. So I love the look of this, and I'm really excited about it. Now we're going to stamp our sentiment. So I've got some First Fine Clair Nocturne ink, and just going to stamp my sentiment right on the center of a scrap of cardstock. And then I have my Alice image. I'm going to ink that up with some Memento Tuxedo black ink and stamp that on to some Express It cardstock. I'm using my Olos. Those are a brand new alcohol marker. Work the same as most any alcohol marker that's on the market. The only difference is that, there's a little bit of a learning curve with these, and there aren't all the colors out, so I'll show you a technique that you can use when you are limited on your colors on how you can make those stretch a little more. I'm putting those colors up on the screen for you. I've got some BG 2.4, and then I'm going to bring in a darker color, which is the next color that I have for these colors, and it ends up being a little bit darker than I wanted. And so you'll see that here, that's the BG 2.7. And I'm going to try to blend that with our BG 2.4. And I do okay, but that BG 2.7 is definitely much, much darker than our 2.4. So I'm going to use an old technique. You'll see here in a second. See, I'm blending and I'm like, ooh, that's pretty dark. And I kind of like a good contrast, but this was a little too much for me. So I'm going to do the tip to tip technique, where I've got my BG 2.7 in my left hand, and because I'm right-handed, I'll just touch the tip of the 2.4 to the 2.7 and drag that color on there. It doesn't hurt your markers. In fact, it just pulls some of that color, and then as you color it, it'll color out. For her skin tone, I'm using OR 1.1. And then I'll bring in one darker color, which is pretty contrasty as well, but I'm not going to do the tip technique here. I like the contrast on her skin. I didn't like the color of her shoes, so I'm bringing in a WG9, and then I'll use that on her stockings as well. And then use some lighter W on her apron, and then we've got that BG 2.7 on her headband. And then I'm just going to quickly fussy cut her out. And then we'll be ready to start assembling everything onto our card front. I'm going to use some foam squares on our sentiment as well as Alice. And then I'll just peel off all that release paper, and I'm going to put her down right in the center so it looks like she is falling down a rabbit hole. Such a fun image. And then do the same thing with our sentiment, and then put that slightly below her, lining that up using my glass mat. I heard you fell down a rabbit hole. That could be used for so many of us in the crafting world. All right, now I need my card base. My card base is going to measure 5½ inches by 8½ inches, and I'll score that at 4¼ And then we can attach down our card panel to our card base using just some liquid glue this time. You could add some embellishments if you wanted to, but I figured that background was star enough. I love it. And then I'll take that same image, use that Uncharted Mariner. I'm going to stamp her on the inside of the card as well. I didn't stamp another sentiment. I'm just going to leave it as that. And then once we are done with that, that's going to finish off our card for today. So I hope you liked it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you like this video, please be sure to hit that like button and definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And be sure to check out all that Miss Ink Stamps has going on over on their blog, Facebook page, and Instagram for more crafty inspiration. Thanks for stopping by, and I will see you soon.